Let's dive into Noot's training so we can stay nice and consistent when we get home. When we get home and we give Noot a command and he listens to this command, we're going to make sure we are pet praising or rewarding him so that he knows that he's doing a great job. Now, if he ignores that command, we're going to make sure that we are following through using the training equipment. Dogs do learn in photos, so we have about 1.3 seconds to either pet, praise, or reward the good behavior, or do follow through with the training equipment for the unwanted behavior. Let's go over his commands. The first command is going to be heel. Heel means to walk politely next to us on the left-hand side with a nice loose leash. When he's doing this, again, we're going to make sure that we are pet praising and rewarding him so he knows he's doing a great job. If he gets a little excited and veers to the side or pulls ahead of us, we're going to make sure we're following through with his training equipment. What's his training equipment and how do we use it to follow through? The first item in his training equipment is going to be the prong collar. So in using the prong collar, we are going to hook the lead. Oh goodness. We're going to hook the lead to the spinning D-ring. We're also going to make sure that the collar is not big enough to go on or off over his head. We are in fact going to take the links apart. To do so, we are going to allow the links to hang parallel. We're then going to push one link down the prongs of the other. To put it back together, we're going to squeeze those little prongs together. We're going to place it through the little loops. It's all about technique, not strength. So when we are healing with Noot and he gets a little excited and pulls ahead, we're going to mark the unwanted behavior with the verbal word no. We are then going to do a small pop and release of the lead, so attached to the collar, so a small pop and release of the collar, and then remind him what it is we're wanting him to do, which in this case is heel. So again, we're healing, he's doing good, gets excited, pulls ahead, no, heel. The next item in his training equipment is going to be the remote collar. So both the remote and the collar have these little red circles on them. We're going to touch those together until the green light flashes on the collar. That light is indicating that the collar is now on. To turn the collar off, we're going to do the same thing and touch those circles together until that red light flashes. That red light is indicating that your collar is now off. To turn the remote on, there's a large black button in the back. We are then going to press and hold that button down until your screen turns on. When your screen's on, your remote's on. Turn it off, same thing, that big black button in the back. We're going to press and hold it down until the screen turns off. The screen being off is going to indicate that your remote's now off. So in using the remote collar, we're still going to mark the unwanted behavior with the verbal word no, but we are going to focus heavily on the black S button. That is our follow through button. So again, mark the unwanted behavior with a no, and then we're going to tap that button and repeat to him what we're wanting him to do, which again, in this case is heel. So he pulls ahead, no, heel. Our next command is going to be sit. Sit is a short-term duration stay. So we do not teach the word stay. It is implied when it comes to our commands. So when we tell him sit, he is to sit until we give him something else to do, or until we tell him free, which means he's no longer in a command. He has the freedom to get up, explore, go potty, go play, anything that's appropriate. So obviously not go and chew on some socks, but he can get up out of that command. He no longer has to hold it. So sit was demonstrated with door manners. So with this, we heel him up to the door. We tell him to sit. We are going to then reward him when he sits, tell him he's a good boy, give him a little head scratch if we want to. We're then going to give him the verbal reminder of sit so that he remembers, oh, I'm in this command, I need to be doing this. This is what they want me to do. So we're going to remind him to sit. We are then going to open the door. Once that door is open, we are then either going to tell him heel and we are going to exit through the door together, or we are going to tell him free and let him go through the door and we follow behind him. If by chance he does get up when you open that door and before you tell him either free or heel, we are then going to, again, mark the unwanted behavior with the verbal word no, follow through with the training equipment, and remind him of what it is we're wanting him to do. We're then going to close the door and do the activity again. Once he's able to continue to stay in that sit with the door open, we are then going to pet, praise, or reward him so we're letting him know he's doing a good job, and then we will proceed through that door. Our next command is going to be down. Down is a long-term duration stay. So down was demonstrated with down in the lobby. So we are going to heel him to where we want him to be. We are going to tell him down. When he lays down, we are going to reward him as closely to the ground as possible. So if you're inside, you can go ahead and drop his treat or place his treat on the ground directly in front of him, right in between his cute little paws. Or if we're outside in the dirt or some rocks, we're going to keep that treat on our hand and put our hand as closely to the ground as possible. The reason we are not just handing him the treat is because he's going to follow his nose. So if we go to hand Noot that treat, he's going to try to sit up so he can get to that treat a bit quicker. And again, we want to set him up for success. We want him to stay in that down, so we're going to reward him as closely to the ground as possible. His next command is going to be place. Place is also a long-term duration barrier stay. So I do recommend using place when people are coming over, when cooking, when cleaning, or when he's just being a little bit too crazy and you just want him to hang out and relax. So when thinking about place, think of him kind of as a mime, okay? So we are going to tell him place, get him up on his elevated bed, and he is to stay on that elevated bed. His feet are not able to touch that floor. We do not want him to think that he can get off. So he's kind of like a mime in a sense, and we're putting him in the box. And the only way that the door for that box opens is if we go back to him and tell him free or give him another command. So again, I do recommend using this when people come over, when cooking, when cleaning, or when he's just being a little overly excited. When we go to reward for this, we're going to make sure that we are dropping the treat onto the place bed. That way he thinks the place bed is what is producing it for him. That way he's getting that really strong positive reward history from the bed, and he really is going to want to stay there. There are a few rules when it comes to place. So there's no vocalization, so there's no barking and there's no whining. There's also no chewing. So there's no chewing on the place bed, and there's also no chewing on the lead if he's got one on him. He can have toys and he can have dog chews, but he is not to bark or whine or to chew on the bed or to chew on his leash. His next command is going to be come, which is our recall. So when working on this, I do recommend using a 30 to 50 foot long lead, especially if you are in an open, unenclosed area. We're going to put him in a free so he has the ability to sniff around and explore. Once he is distracted, we're going to use a loud, firm tone and tell him, come. And once he turns and starts coming to us, we're going to take a few steps back to invite him into our space while simultaneously praising him. Yes, good boy, Noot, good job. Once he gets to us, we're going to place him into a sit. Once he is sitting, then we can go ahead and reward him. Now, if by chance he ignores the command when we tell him to come, we're going to use that long lead and we're going to reel him into us. Once he starts coming to us, we are going to still take a few steps back. We're still going to praise him along his way to us. We are still going to put him in a sit, and then we're going to reward him because we want a very, very strong positive reward history when it comes to come when called, when it comes to recall. His next command is going to be leave it. I do recommend using dog-safe foods such as hot dogs when working on this. What we're going to do is we're going to drop a piece of that food on the ground. We're going to tell him to leave it. Once he leaves it, we can either tell him okay, so he can go and grab that food off the ground and enjoy it, or we are going to give him a little bit of a reward ourselves and then go and pick that up off of the ground. So that is going to be all of Noot's commands. Let's go ahead and see them in action. Good job.
Down. Good boy. Good down. Down. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Good down. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Good down. Down. Heel. Good job. Good boy.
Let's go ahead and go over Noot's remote collar so we can stay consistent when we get home. Both the remote and the collar have these little red circles on them. We're going to touch them together until the green light flashes. That green light is going to indicate that our collar is now on. That light is going to flash periodically to remind us that the collar is in fact on. If by chance the color of it changes to an orange or a red, that is going to indicate that we need to charge the collar and the remote. To turn the remote Let's go ahead and go over Noot's remote collar so that we can stay nice and consistent when we get home. So both the remote and the collar have these little red circles on them. We're going to touch them together until a green light flashes to indicate that your collar is now on. That light is going to continue to flash periodically to remind us that the collar is on. Now, if that light changes to an orange or red, that is going to indicate that we do in fact need to charge the remote and the collar. To turn the collar back off, we're going to do the same thing and touch those circles together until that red light flashes to indicate that the collar is now off. To turn your remote on, there's a large black button in the back. We're going to press and hold that down until the screen is on to indicate that the remote is on. Turn it off, same thing, that large black button in the back, we're going to press and hold it down until our screen is off, which indicates that our remote's off. When using this with Noot, we're going to focus heavily on the black S button. That is our follow through button. Noot is currently at a level 30. Level 30 has been necessary for the amount of excitement he has experienced while here at the facility. So again, that black S is going to be at a level 30. Now this could be too high or too low when you get home. It all depends on Noot's level of excitement. So if it is too high, you're going to know this because you are barely ever going to have to use that button, and when you do, he is going to flinch pretty dramatically. Okay, so if it's too high, we are going to lower that level down by 5 to 25. Now, if it is not high enough, so if it is too low, you will know this because you will constantly be having to use that button, and it's not going to really have any effect on him whatsoever. So then we're going to increase the level by 5, so go from 30 to 35. And this can vary from place to place for him. Some places are just a little bit more exciting than others. So again, we may need to be adjusting his level like often, especially if you take him quite a few places. So to adjust the level, we're going to use the knob at the top of the remote. You can see now the level is not changing, and this is because it is in fact locked in. We know the level's locked in because the 1D on the screen is solid, it is not flashing. So to unlock the level, we're going to press and hold the knob until the 1D flashes. As you can see, the knob is quite sensitive. It did just drop him down to a 14. So we're going to go ahead and put this back up to a 30 where he was at. So once you're at the level that you're needing, you're going to press and hold that knob down again until the 1D stops flashing to let you know that the level's locked in. Again, level can change from place to place with him because he is so young. Some things are just going to be a lot more exciting for him. Now there is the red S button. Okay, that red S button is our emergency boost button. Again, it is for emergencies. We have never had to use it for him here at the facility, but it's there as a safety net. It's there just in case he is off leash, has this on, and is chasing a squirrel across the road or chasing a ball across the road, or something pretty dangerous is happening. Again, we've never ever had to use it, okay? But it is there just in case. So a level 30, it reaches his excitement here, okay? So from here down, his excitement levels, that 30 reaches to there. If he's chasing a squirrel across the road, his excitement level is going to be up here, and that 30 is not going to reach it. Then that's going to be when we hit that red button, and it's going to go ahead and boost it all the way up so that we can get his attention so he's not continuing to chase that squirrel or chase that ball. There is a black T button on this remote also. That is a vibrate button. I do not recommend using that right now. It could be used farther down the road in his training as a warning button, but at this moment I do recommend staying extremely consistent with that black S button. We don't want to accidentally scare him with the vibrate. There is also this little MC button. That button is also no longer necessary in his training. It's used at the very, very beginning to change the buttons from momentary to continuous. So this was used at an extremely low level. So that he would feel it, he would give us a tiny little sign that he feels it, and then we would just give him a bunch of treats to create a nice positive reward history when it comes to the collar so that there was no fear behind it. Again, it's no longer necessary to be used in his training. He has passed that step. So then you have that big black button in the back, which we know if we press and hold it down, it's going to turn on and off the remote. But if you tap it one time, you're going to get a strobe light. If you tap it a second time, it's going to leave that light on. If you tap it a third time, it's going to turn that light off, which is really nice for when you're taking him outside to go potty at night. So both the remote and the collar are waterproof. So the little charging ports have a nice little flaps on them. Oh goodness. And we want to make sure that when we are done charging, because it is waterproof, that we are going to really close up those ports so no debris and no moisture gets in there, so we can continue to charge these without any kind of issue. The remote collar did come with a lanyard. I did put the lanyard onto the remote. I don't like putting the collar into my pocket. If we put it into our pockets, there's a possibility of accidentally hitting one of the buttons at an unnecessary time, or even unlocking and adjusting his level, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep it nice and consistent. So again, I put the lanyard on so that it's easy to just slip on and off over the head. So in the box is the charger. So it's a nice little 2-bay charger, so you can charge the remote and the collar at the same time, which is super handy. Now, I do not recommend charging these overnight. It only takes an hour or two to fully charge the remote and the collar, and if we charge it any more than that, it's going to be a lot like our phones, and the battery is just going to start to decrease, and we'll have to charge it more often. So again, it should only take about an hour or two to fully charge the remote and the collar. Now, the battery life for the remote and the collar lasts about 2 days, so about 48 hours, as long as we are remembering to turn them off at night. So the collar goes on Noot first thing in the morning, and it comes off last thing at night. It's to be worn 12 to 14 hours a day. So we turn it on, we put it on him, we do all of our stuff with him. Right before we go to bed, we're going to take them off and we're going to turn them off so that the battery lasts and so that we don't have to charge it quite as often. It also comes with this nifty little tool to change out the little prongs or the little stimulators to some longer ones. His coat is not super long, so it's not really necessary to change the length out on those, but it did come with it for you. It also has the original collar for the stimulator. We did switch it out. This one just takes a bit longer to put on him. It goes on and off and hooks kind of like a belt, whereas the one that we changed it to has a nice little clasp right here, so you can just click it on him. And it's got a little bungee on it, so there's just a little bit more give to the collar, because we don't want it too loose, but we don't want it too tight. So it's got that nice little bungee, which is really nice. And then underneath we have our instruction manual. So if you need to switch his level and you don't remember how and you don't want to pull up the video, you do have an instruction manual so that you can read all about the remote collar also. Now, the remote and the collar do have a 2-year warranty. So if by chance they stop connecting to each other or they're not charging, you can go ahead and get a hold of the company, let them know what's going on, and they should go ahead and help you out with that. There's also a half-mile radius when it comes to the remote and the collar. So eventually you could let him be up to half a mile away from you and still be able to communicate with him, which is really, really nice. So that's going to be everything that has to do with Noot's remote collar. Remember to stay consistent and have fun.